Let's call the April 27th, 2021 regular meeting to order, and if you'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Oh, you got a good group back there looking good. Take the police chief's temperature. That's got to be pretty good today. All right. As we stated in the work session, we're going to defer the April 13th regular minute meeting, April 13th work session minutes, and March 23rd regular meeting minutes to give some folks an opportunity to have a little more input, and let's see what happens from there.
Will that be until the next meeting?
I would say either the next meeting or until such time as we can reach an agreement.
Okay.
Hopefully we got it done in the next meeting because we have other things that we need to focus on.
That's right. That's correct. And then this was a little historic, and this would be, we have a request to modify or amend the regular meeting minutes from January 26th. I would need a motion.
And that's that one sentence that about the contract.
As it sits right now.
Yes, and if you would like, I can read the segment.
No.
So are we deferring or are we making motion or are we deferring until we look into that and see that really that should reach?
We're gonna hear this one.
All right,
Let's see what the city council so chooses to do. Right now, I don't have a motion.
Did you call for a motion? I'm sorry. Did
Yes,
you hear
ma'am,
that
I
word?
have.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you call for a motion or are we going to defer until the next council meeting? Or us to all look at that?
I have asked the council for a motion.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Item number 3, presentations, police department. Chief?
That would be us, sir. How y'all doing?
You're doing very well. How about yourself?
All right, first of all, I'm gonna bring up Master Patrol Officer Detective also Todd here. Todd just hit 5 years with us. He's been in law enforcement a lot longer than that though. How long have you been in it? 23 years, so he's been around for a while. But he just hit his 5 years, so we want to present him with his 5-year pin. I would pin it on you, but I'll just let you do that later. You got anything you'd like to say?
Well, how time fly. It doesn't wait on nobody. So I'm really blessed, truly can say, to be on the land of the living for 23 years in the profession. And I'm grateful to be here for 5 years, and hopefully you all can continue to tolerate me for the next 5 years. So I'm gonna keep on pushing. Thank you.
Next, we're gonna bring up Officer Fortune and Officer Jordan. They are our new hires. Officer Jordan here worked at South Lake Mall for 13 years, so y'all probably seen him there if you've been around there. He's been with Henry County SO for a little over 5 years, and now he's with us, and Thursday he's taking his final test and be cut loose on the road by himself. So he's gonna be free out there. So we just wanted to introduce him to you. And Officer Jordan came to us from Clayton State, but she's also a retired corrections officer out of the New York Department of Corrections. She was a captain there. Also, she has a master's in education, 2 masters in education, and she likes to community-oriented police. So I figured she'd be great.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
just so you meet her. And we also want to thank off the raised gates.
We appreciate that very much.
Yes, we like that.
Y'all got anything to say? Fortune first?
Sure you do. I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to come work for the city. Chief Mostel has known me for many years working at the mall. He knows how long I've been trying to get on, and it finally worked itself out. So I do appreciate the opportunity, and definitely going to give it my best to live up to my expectations.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Ma'am?
I am blessed to be with Morrow Police Department. I've been in law enforcement for over 35 years in New York, and also was a teacher, but I wanted to come back to law enforcement. So I look forward to the opportunity to service the community, and I look forward to they stuck with me.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you all.
Are we missing one? Did we miss one?
One officer did have to leave early.
Okay, you know.
We'll reschedule it.
All right, new business. I think on this one, we're going to defer for some flexibility answers at the next council meeting. How about that? Okay. Item number 2, approval of contract for Archer pay classification compensation study in the amount of $13,500, and for the authorization of Mayor Linkle to execute the contract and other related documents under the caveat that it would not be in this fiscal year, so it would be fiscal year 2022 after July 1. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded.
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quan?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Approval of Public Works recommendation for All His Enterprises LLC for the renovation of the boardwalk restrooms in the district at a cost of $10,500 to be paid from the SPLOST 2008. Here, category facilities improvement, and for authorizing the mayor to execute contracts and other related documents. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Mayor, they say the spot 2014.
I know, I just changed it. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Mayor, we did not have a second to the time to discuss on the item that we have on the agenda to vote.
We're gonna work on that. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So
So
can
we
we,
have- yes, ma'am.
can we open to the conversation before we're voting? Because we did not have a chance to discuss for the rest of the discussion item before we enter to the agenda, and now we have no chance to discuss.
Let's just leave the second for a discussion and allow us to take that opportunity. We pretty much know that it's the restrooms at the district. We've had the pictures, I think, from a couple weeks ago, so this isn't the first time it's been in front of the city council. We know that we use porta johns on a regular basis out there, and this would reduce some of the expenses that we have. And do you have a specific question in mind, Ms. Trent?
Yes, the job is related to plumbing and require license. Have we verified the contractor?
This point is we're not rebuilding it, right? We just-
No, we're changing fixtures.
Fixtures are
This
damaged.
is,
Doesn't require
yeah,
the fixtures.
this is a commode, man, you know, like you buy from Home Depot.
I'm reading through all his enterprise, the jobs that they're going to do, and one of that was plumbing and replacing the water heater in electrical room.
Still.
So is that the gas or the electrical, the water heater?
I know it's an electrical water heater, I know that for sure.
But it's plumbing, plumber license is required.
Well, in the packet, it's stating if your company is selected, you have to show proof of business license, certificate of insurance, and
Yeah, she's not one of the additional one, she's basically saying, let's say a handyman. question here is, do we want a licensed plumber to change out our $400 warranty, or not? We heard you, man. Any other questions?
That's all I have.
No other questions?
I'd like to hear the.
That's all I have. Thank you.
I just was gonna, as far as the way it goes, so a motion and a second come before the discussion. So the motion and the second are still valid.
That's correct.
Then you have discussion, and once discussion's over, then you can move to the vote.
Yeah, and I'll do that. I just, we'll pick up a different discussion right behind this discussion, and that'll solve some things. But anyway, let's get this one moving. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Eden?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Nay,
Motion carries.
roll call. Roll call.
I think I did.
I'm calling for the motion to approve a topic for recommendation for all its enterprise for renovating the bathroom and Morrow restroom at the district, because the work is related to plumbing and it requires plumbing license. Ready or motion?
Actually, you're out of order, Van. The motion carries. Okay. As a,
I'm calling a roll call, Mayor.
ma'am,
I will call it for a roll call.
you're out of order, ma'am. All right. In the future, if we have general maintenance type of items and it's on an agenda and you wish to have some additional requirements, that may be over and above the requirements of either state law or even city code, make that statement and see if we can carry the day, at a different time. But just know that all of those things require an entirely different set of people and an entirely different cost, right? We're not putting in a 3,500 gallon boiler. This is a 40 gallon hot water heater that me and you can go buy at Home Depot today and put it in ourselves if that's what we want to do. So I don't know that our risks are absolutely. As a matter of fact, Billy, why aren't we?
Mayor, could you please advise why couldn't I call for roll call?
Well, ma'am, the biggest thing is the vote is called by the chair. I'll call for the vote. The motion has passed, and you're out of order.
Now, I hear you. I'm calling for I will call the roll call for a different motion. It's not stepping on your motion.
Okay.
And per our charter, everyone can make a roll call.
Well, you can ask for a motion if it's on an agenda, but we're setting the agenda. But I'm still going to call you out of order, and we'll just move on.
And just, Mayor, I think a roll call means you said it out loud. You already did that when
We
you took
did.
the vote. Yeah. So the
So-
roll call had already happened.
She knows that, I've stated that, but she's talking about a secondary motion to something. And, the city operates under the general rules of Robert's Rules of Order. It's a generally thick book, but the idea is not necessarily to play the gotcha game. The idea is to say, here's items that we have before us, and, can we support actually getting them accomplished? So they're parameters, okay? We pretty much know what it is we're doing, that's not a surprise. We have an idea of what the price is, that's not a surprise. And we know where it's at, that's not a surprise. The rest of it doesn't change anything then. So we'll move on. All right, so the next one is, and we've requested, like I said, if you have something over and above, nobody's trying to make your life miserable, let's just know what it is. And then if that's the type of company we want to go solicit bids from, then we need to change a little bit about how we do business. Yes, ma'am.
We get the memorandum. Because I think it's continuing to kind of stir some confusion based on whether it's required by law,
Yeah, we
the
can
scope of
resend that.
the project and.
Resend that.
Yeah, yeah.
and the GC part of it, that one is what she specifically
Yeah,
asked for. And,
yeah.
and this one, you know, we're now making arguments about all trades. In other words, you can say plumbing, but you can turn around and say electrical. But an example, you know, we could go over there and change that electrical outlet, Billy could, and do all the time. You know, we're not hiring a master electrician to do that. You know, now certainly there's a lot of work that we should, right, and that's coming. As a matter of fact, some of it's even on. But your general maintenance type of items, changing out porcelain, different things like that, we'd love to be able to do it with staff. But remember, some of your SPOS programs don't allow you to use your own employees. Or they can use them and they get paid for the material, but you can't pay for that. And that's just a matter of, okay. All right, next item. Approval to accept the bid for Westwood Way Path for M Construction Company in the amount of $128,175 from SPOS 2008 to authorize the mayor to execute the proposal and any other related documents. Because that one's above $128,000 or $100,000, that one has been bid out. City manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've had that before us. We know
And
what.
you saw all 6 bids, we sent
All
those
6
out to
bids.
council.
This is the recommendation from the city council.
And it is the lowest bid,
And
as
it
it
is the
were.
lowest bid. Any discussion items related to that project? Ms. Knight?
I don't have any questions at this time. This is again the connection.
Yes, it is. Ms. Dean?
I do have a question, and it's somewhat related to the part of the parking lot where the bridge comes down, and there's an issue, drainage. So that's not gonna be addressed in this.
No, because that's a separate project that
That's
we
a
have for a
separate,
scout.
okay.
Well, actually, the drainage will have to be yet a different project because it was the connectivity between the bridge and the parking lot, but the drainage problem
Yes,
was
sir.
not included in that
Okay.
scope.
That's what, I know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, ma'am, it would not be included in this bid.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Clark? No question. Ms. Train?
No question.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Knight? Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Train?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Approval of Georgia's Power Streetlight proposal for 19 streetlights in the amount of $298.94 a month, and authorize the mayor to execute the proposal and other related documents. In terms of,
Billy?
Yeah, it's 19 additional lights throughout the city. They're on existing, we're actually gonna add the lights to existing poles. Found some other dark spots in the city, want to address those issues.
okay, so I see various locations, Malibu, folks down in Malibu, and Burbank, got 4 down there. One at Jail Christian Park, which is down around your stretch of the woods there, Ms. Dean, for a total of 19. Any additional questions related to that? Ms. Knight?
No question.
I saw one here from Monterey Court light up, sorry, didn't see that. Ms. Dean?
I do, I have an observation about the lights. Reynolds Road, I believe it was Saturday evening. Or Sunday, the lights were still on Sunday morning on the street.
Well, now, the good news about the power staying on is they're not on a meter.
It's not on-
We
that's
pay
not
one
on
time
us.
per month, and then that's it, whether they stay on or not. Our biggest problem is when they don't come off.
Right.
So Georgia Power is the one that should try to turn them off.
Yep, Georgia Power has a subcontractor, and basically what the subcontractor is doing is getting all the lights back on.
Mhm.
They now know that some of the photo cells aren't working properly. They're having some issues finding those. Nevertheless, they're working on getting that resolved as quickly as possible.
But we reached, I don't see it on here when it says 19 various locations, so, or 14, but let's hold to that. Are any of these also gonna be on Reynolds Road by chance? Because those lights are spaced out so far apart.
We didn't add any, but I will go out tomorrow morning, and I'll take a look and
Well, because in that case, remember, those were the lights that so many didn't have numbers, so they had to come out and put the numbers on them. So that is not adding lights to existing poles that don't have a light, that's just making sure they get reported as an outage.
and then fix. But now that they've renumbered them, they should be able to do that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and there's various locations, there are some maps in here, so it's not like somebody's just saying yes. You know, if somebody wants to read this, they can kind of see where they're at. You know, but it looks like it does a pretty good job of looking at the whole city, you know, just looking at the maps.
May I ask a question about the life of those lights?
Which ones?
The
More
green-
specifically, the
the
green
ones,
ones or
that we put in, how long are they supposed to last?
lights on the poles,
Mhm.
they're actually LED lights. They, I would say on average, 10 to 15 years, if not longer.
Mhm.
But I can get some more specific information if you'd like.
Because sometimes I see some of them.
Well, if they're blinking, flickering, that
Then
means
that's-
that some of the leads on the LED light they're going bad.
Okay.
And if that be the case, just let me know the
But if it's
location.
out completed,
If it's out, I need to know,
okay,
and I'll get it turned back on.
okay.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Trainer?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval for the Public Works recommendation for Johnson Controls for the preventive maintenance of rooftop unit 2 and 3 at the Morrow Center at the cost of $6,234.72, and authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Obviously, we've now changed from ceiling controls and different other things. Most of what we've passed so far is related to ballrooms and secondary rooms. But remember, we've got 2 additional rooftop units up there that are not small. And obviously, we seem to have some issues with them. So if we want it to work, we've got to fix it. Any questions related to that item?
So this is what was discussed on Saturday with regard to, there's a zone that is not,
No. I can give you clarity. So Johnson Controls is managing and has oversight of the rooftop units now. They actually went out and did their first service on the units. The items that they're listing are wear and tear items on the unit because they're continuously running, whether it's heat, whether it's cold, and there are problems that are starting to arise as a result of. That has nothing to do with the controls issues. It has to do only with the rooftop units, parts and pieces that are starting to fail. And we want to get on it before they actually fail because it can take a little bit longer to get parts and pieces. So as part of the preventive maintenance program, they gave us a list of things that we need to do immediately so that we don't have downtime on the units.
so does this, at this point, capture all units, changing out whatever components so that Johnson Controls is in control, and any service agreements necessary to move forward?
Okay, it's 2-part. Part 1 is the service agreement for the rooftop units. Part 2 is the service agreement for the controls section, which is Nexus. Nexus will be with us within a couple of weeks. They've already ordered all of the hardware they need to bring that online. Once they take Siemens out, they'll put Nexus in, then they'll do another diagnostic check on the inside of the building with all the controls that tie back into Nexus to make sure everything's okay.
And the one thing I want to caution the city council about is, you know, let's say that we took our car and had the oil changed today and everything was running great. You know, and we drive it down the road and, you know, things break. These are pieces of equipment. They break. And the idea is they come out and fix them. So this isn't like this is going to run perfectly. You still have a 15-year-old piece of equipment. It's very expensive equipment, and we're trying to make it first so that it works. And we think we're going to get to that point. But, you know, let's hope that the wheels don't keep falling off.
So the service agreement does not cover when things break.
So-
If the service agreement finds it before it breaks, so you're not, you know, months without air, and it does the preventative measures, hoping that it's less vulnerable to breaks. But the service agreement is not that you're never gonna get charged for a break. It's that there hopefully are gonna be fewer because they're doing preventative measures.
And it also is this the repairs we talked about that needs to get done before this May 2nd?
Yeah, that will be Siemens, and they're coming out
The 29th.
Friday, the 29th,
Okay.
or Thursday, whatever.
That was what I was.
Right, okay.
Any other questions related to item 6? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
So move.
Motion is
Second.
second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quam?
Aye.
Ms. Dean? Ms. Knight?
Aye.
And Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Good cold air over tomorrow.
All right, so the next one is an approval, there you go, for the design. And this one is a concept, right? So you get an idea of what it is that we're doing. And we have talked about this, so we have a general starting point, right? It's not stuck in stone, but the idea here is somewhere between what the city has as its normal code, strip shopping center, and a mixed-use zoning that requires 5-story buildings and high densities and parking decks. That's a pretty big stretch. So what we're trying to do on a piece of property that we have is come up with something that creates greater density that we think the local business community can actually afford and buy with theory. But the first thing is to say, let's have the concept kind of approved, and your next steps as an owner of a property would be geotechnical, right? We're not too worried about geotechnical because we're not putting 5-story buildings on it. But for those who remember the parking deck didn't have any rock underneath it, and we couldn't go any taller than 3 floors if we wanted to, even though the design said 7, right? So this is us just making sure. And then we also had a car lot there, car repairs. So we want to do, a phase 1 environmental just to make sure that the ground is not contaminated, whatever. Those will be the easy ones. Those will be coming behind this. And then you'll start to do some basic civil engineering so that you can take that plan and produce lots. Now, we won't actually, build that. The idea is we come up with a number from those designs, and we figure out how much it costs per square foot, and then we start shopping that to our business community to be able to say, here's a plan that's agreed to by the city per se, and we will start to make it happen, and to see if we can't make medium density, not quite the high density that you have in mind. And why this is important is because you're slightly outside of your mixed-use zone. Right? So you play the concept, we take it to the next level to figure out what can happen. Once we get into something a little more concrete, like a full set, we'll walk those through the planning and zoning department, and ultimately the city council, and then depending on how it's being paid for, probably either the DDA or the UI. Any questions?
Should the design be done by an architecture?
That is who this person is. She is an architect.
Okay,
Other questions?
So I do have a question.
no other question.
Based on, and I know you carry a lot of information in your head, you may not know this specifically. We talked a little bit about this on Saturday, and this is more of a walkable concept for the property.
Very much.
Do we see issues or concerns with parking based on, I guess the zoning would have to be specialized for, I guess, the allowance of the number of parking spaces, because we're
The
not.
irony is your current zoning code doesn't require any parking at all.
Okay.
You
Well,
can-
see, there you go, you off the top of your
You
head.
could literally say, I'm gonna build a building, and you could say, where are you gonna park? And you're gonna say, wherever you want, I just don't have it.
But remember, it's right across the street from a parking deck.
Parking.
Well, and so
Yes.
I'm just wanting to kind of,
But from a business standpoint,
Yeah, they're
which
gonna
Mr.
want
Quah would certainly remind us quickly, is that that's probably not the smartest move we would have ever made. And so in here, you're gonna see some parallel parking on the back, potentially 2 abilities to have drive-up windows, and then you've got some parking on the front. We try to push a little bit more. It appears that the state of Georgia's GDOT requirements coming off the road prohibit within the first 100 feet, as stated by the architect. The irony would be, let's say you're across from the tourist center and you're on that little lot over there, that means you're not turning in until at least the IHOP. That ought to be entertaining for those people. But in this case, I think you're seeing in the general section, the beauty of trying to move this at this level is you're taking out the risk for the private sector, right? So let's say the private sector said, would you invest this kind of time and energy, and then pitch it to the city and say, please trust me, I'm going to do you a good good job, odds are you're probably gonna get shot down pretty good, which means that's why you'll never see it. But this is trying to stay something reasonable. There is a prototype that's similar to it. It's called Maxwell up in Alpharetta, where the private sector has done this. It's next to a pretty high density residential section, but it's not like all, crazy buildings. It's just a series of side-by-side condos and some lofts. And they're running anywhere from $500,000 to $300,000 for a loft. So I think our visual here is terrible. But the idea is just to kind of approve the concept, so you can say we looked at it. It's a pretty good stage. Lots of room for improvements, and maybe the private sector eventually comes back and says, hey, that's sweet, but we don't know that the buildings will get moved out of ton, but you might want 1,900 square feet versus 1,200. So a lot of variables in between.
Yeah, I think, just having the conversation about the concept being, it's a walkable concept. It is an attempt to, on some level, tie in maybe the strip plaza that's next to it. There's parking. And the pent-up demand at Clayton State University for some destination to walk to that has some level of, whether it's restaurants or services that add to the quality of life, some of the amenities that aren't there already.
Correct. And it's got great visibility to 54, so they can tap that market plus traditional 54.
Yeah, because, the synergy of anybody driving past, you will have to address parking. But, understanding conceptually, this is something very different probably for anything, conceptually being discussed in Clayton County right now. It's a walkable project, and I think it's, worth the concept.
Other comments, Ms. Dean?
No comments?
Mr. Quam?
No comment, I like it.
Ms. Tran?
No comment.
All right. As approval of the new design concept for Strata from SDN Design, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quam?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
There you go. Keep that moving. All right. Now, this is one that was missed, but we talked about it before. Approval of the contract with Peachtree Recovery Services for public property insurance recovery, and to authorize the mayor to execute the contract and other related documents. As stated by the city manager earlier, this is a company that's going to charge us a percentage where somebody hit a light pole, for example, or tore up city property, fence, curb, other things, and they will go and try to recover those, expense dollars for us. Right now, that's not happening. We know earlier in the year we had some discussions about an interstate pole, I-75. That was pretty expensive, and we were within like a month of losing our abilities there. So a little more strategic, and it's probably either not going to get recovered because it'll be small money. So let's see what we can do to have them do it. Any other questions related to item 8, Ms. Knight?
No question.
Ms. Dean?
No question.
Mr. Quah? Ms. Tran?
No questions.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
So moved.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval to the agreement with Chase Bank Services procurement service card, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement and any other related documents. You heard the discussions earlier from the CFO. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Approval for the proposed electrical work in the dark space. This is one of the things I think we talked about on Tuesday. This is the lower section by Indent Electric, and you have $33,074, and authorize the mayor to execute the proposal and related documents. Kind of catch everybody up to speed. We turned loose some engineering in terms of not only the structural, we want some AutoCAD. We've got what they call MEPs, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. They're looking at, the condition of what we have in there, what can be salvaged, what needs to be changed out. And they reached a conclusion that on the main air handler in there, when, they say it's missing, and I don't want to say that it's been stolen, but when the demo was probably done 10 years ago, they probably took that part out. Because remember when we did the demo, they stripped a lot of different things. I doubt seriously somebody went to the lower level and snatched out 437 feet of cable the size of your thumb. I think we would recognize that, I hope. But that's what they're replacing. So the idea is, you know, whether we keep the specific piece of equipment or we change it out for new equipment, you still have to have the electrical line running to it. And that's what that's doing. So as we run into a series of things, these are the unknowns. In other words, nobody's been in this space in a decade, give or take. You know, just like we just got the lights on, you know, you gotta be able to have some unfortunate circumstances take place. And this is one of them. And irrespective of what happens, you can't get any of this stuff to run without the power line.
Is this intended for, is there a SPLOS that can?
Probably, on this one, we would probably pull
Actually-
2014. No?
Because we may, the way it's budgeted, it may all be spoken for if you guys all approve the budget when it comes out. But, so that's why we didn't identify SPLOS, because we don't want to wait for 2020, obviously.
Right.
The SPLOS. Although it is 20, I guess you could identify 2020 is a better way to say it. Because we haven't gotten the money yet, but we could always get reimbursed because the referendum's already passed.
And the only reason we couldn't pull it
2014
from
maybe
the other one
fully
is because of
spoken.
the budgeting that's about to come in, you don't want to have to change all that.
Yeah,
We
well,
just
because
finished.
if you all approve the projects listed in 2014, this money may not be left in 2014. It may all be spoken for. So if you want it to come from SPLOS, which you certainly can,
Sure.
you would want to identify 2020 in the motion.
But in one of those in the budget, don't you have the thing for the dark space in it?
Yeah, but it wasn't specific to this amount.
That's 3374.
Yeah, so, and again, you could put it in 2014, but you risk the something else getting moved to a different year, which is one of 6 of one, half dozen of another. It won't really matter.
Well, just simply because we haven't allocated the 2020, that's the easiest one that doesn't require us to change our accounting on from what we're about to get in. Fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
And don't forget, because you've had a lot of the event money held in your contingency budget as a mayor and council that will ultimately go to the DMO, it could come out of that too.
Yeah, I'd wait on that one, because we'll have other things. But this is putting back some basic electrical. So what we'll say is the 2020 SPLOST, and we'll figure it out from there.
Okay.
Any other questions related to that line item? Ms. Dean?
Do we have the second offer?
This is the same company that's out there doing the work now. In other words, they've already looked at it. We're working as we go on. They can't complete their line of work unless
Change orders or?
Yes.
you do. I mean, it's kind of expected. This isn't exactly what you want, but you know, we know the company.
So what are they working on? What is this company working on now?
That particular section of the company is looking at all electrical in the lower and upper space, ultimately what we're calling the dark space, which represents about a little over 100,000 square feet. And they're looking at all the electrical components that tie in everything from lighting to the sub panels, to the chillers, to the air handlers, to the pumps, anything else that you can think of, electrical outlets, whatever's there that's existing, obviously is one thing, but the theory is giving us an idea of what we have, which allows us then to move forward on design for what we will need in the future. But in this case, this isn't one of those where you're going to spend money and then rip it out. Irrespective of whether the air handler is used or not used, they still have to have power to that unit for the new one or to use the existing one. Same company.
And you said we already have a contract with them already, and they're working on electrical.
They're a subcontractor for the main contract. And they've done business with the city before on other projects too. And earned that business through low bids and whatever. And they're licensed. Any other comments?
Well, are we having this? So I'm still confused. Are we having this insurance company working on electrical at that state or not?
Yes. They are the original company that put the lights in there, by the way. They're the ones that just finished. Other comments? Ms. Dean?
No comment.
Mr. Qual? You good, Ms. Renee? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
I hear a motion, do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion properly seconded, all those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Qual?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Nay, we should have second offer. The one offer is not competitive.
Item number 11, approval of the fire department recommendation to increase the annual compensation for the medical director, Dr. James Augustine, from $7,000 to $12,000 per year, and authorizing the mayor to execute any related documents. We had a presentation, I believe, at the last council meeting referencing that. Any further discussion on that line item, Ms. Knight?
No?
Ms. Dean? Mr. Tran, Mr. Clark? Ms. Tran?
No question.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
So moved.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
And Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Ordinances, first reading of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, revising Title II, General Government, Chapter 3, Administrative Organization, Article C, City Attorney, Section 2322, powers and duties to repeal conflicting ordinances and to provide an effective date for other lawful purposes. You had that before you. It's the first reading. If you have comments or other types of things, basically this is just changing a little bit of what's in there and being clear on how it's being done. And because it's the first reading, we'll move on. First reading of Ordinance 21 or 2021-05, mixed use moratorium. Similar to some of the stuff we were talking before, got a little confused about multifamily versus mixed use. And you're seeing some of the same things. So mixed use is, a combination of high density residential as well as high density commercial. And some of the codes that we have, might make it so you never get one, and some are making it so that if you do get one, you might not like what you see. And so what we're asking for is to do a moratorium and to allow the city to be able to review what has been done out there in certain areas and to give us some timelines and some opportunities to make sure, A, the ordinance that we have we want, or to make some requests for modifications to allow for that to be a competitive ordinance in the future. Again, first reading and there. Item 3, second reading. This is one where we talked similarly. This is related to multifamily, and this would be apartments and other types of things. The particular code that you have, again, might be very good to a garden-style apartment that might not be conducive to what you want. And we might have, opportunities for people to come in and make an application, and we'd have to live with what we have. Or to be able to pass a moratorium and allow us to review what's on the books and make sure that if there's something else that's out there, that, example might be something as simple as, say, interior entry, versus an exterior entry. And a lot of the new apartments all do, like an interior entry, hallways and things like that, including the new dorms, for an example, versus an exterior. We've had that before us. Any questions related to the multifamily moratorium? Ms. Dean?
No question.
Ms. Knight?
I have 2 questions. So it's my understanding that we currently don't truly have any multifamily.
Application pending, we do not.
We don't have any applications pending, but that's not where I was going. We don't currently have that type of zoning in place anyway. Not currently.
We have
Multifamily.
we absolutely do have the zoning.
Well, if it's within a mixed use, but there's no, we don't.
The one across the street.
No, I'm not saying that we don't have it, I'm saying we don't have properties that are currently zoned to build new ones.
Right,
Right.
but let's say, place across the street, an example, it's got current use, current zoning, right?
Place across the street.
Bloom.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say tomorrow they come in and say, hey, this is great, I want to go out and build to the maximum densities of what you have, and it's going to look not remarkably different, except the densities are now going to be what the code requires or allows, and that might triple the capacity. Are you good with that?
That's not what we have in place.
And I don't know that you can rebuild it.
No, this is, but he's got the zoning, so he can knock down what he has, and you could build to your tenant today.
Yeah, well, if it was the same owner, but if you sold it and wanted to build it, I don't know, I'd have to look at that specific caveat. Because,
So would we agree to have the zoning or
I'm sorry?
not? On that apartment complex, do they have?
They are, well, when it was built, it was zoned appropriate, but I don't think multifamily zoning exists
Currently
outside of
today.
mixed use.
So you're saying that is a mixed use zoning classification?
No, where I'm saying that the only opportunity you would have to build mixed use, no matter where you are, is in the mixed use zone, multifamily.
Is in mixed use zoning. We don't have multifamily zoning to stand alone currently.
Yeah. It's, it's residential, it's mixed use, it's general business, it's public
Let
institution.
me rephrase the question. Okay. You have a future land use plan that defines an existing multifamily use. Are you saying that the city rezoned the property or just did the future land use plan?
Well,
Is that,
I'm saying that
It's
yeah.
a big difference. So let's just use the
And
one
I
across the
understand that.
street.
I think that particular property is currently mixed use.
What was,
The
Well, I-
zoning has changed.
I can go run and look at the zoning map to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that's
But
mixed
you,
use.
and you didn't just do the map, you actually rezoned the property.
And that would have been
didn't we, I thought,
15 years ago.
you're talking about what was the Gateway Village?
No, this would be just, because
Apartment.
of this
For
one, if we're
Bloom.
just doing apartments, then let's say we own the property across the street,
Mhm.
all of us collectively, however it is. Odds are, if you pull it up on the tax map, you're gonna see an apartment zoning classification, high family, multi-residential, however. it is.
Not our zoning.
I don't have a problem deferring it as long as somebody can assure me that that was
Well,
actually rezoned.
I didn't realize the
But
firm was
most
on
city
the.
councils
Yeah.
aren't bold enough to rezone your properties. Does that make sense?
You have to.
They're bold enough to give you a future land use
Well, I
map.
mean, it would have been in place before anybody, years, 15 years, whatever it is,
Well, that's
it's been in
me.
place that long.
And then I would say, I know that didn't happen.
Were you asking for it to be deferred, or you were?
No, I wasn't.
This is us just trying to reach the conclusion.
Yeah,
If the
I wasn't
theory is
asking
that
for it to
none
be
of the
deferred.
zoning actually exists,
That's,
then you could wait for the mixed use zoning classification to come up and solve it at one time.
because my understanding, and I have raised this prior meetings, we don't have multifamily zoning in the city that exists today. If someone were to come and apply to build something multifamily, we don't have that zoning.
Well, well, okay.
It would need to be, to Sylvia's point, she's saying, within a mixed-use zoning, which would specifically say there's gonna end up being some retail space and residential.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't exist, multifamily
So we
housing
would
zoning
say
doesn't exist. in the
Oxford
city.
Apartments, Bloom across the street as the two main ones as we know it. And we know we've got a couple duplexes on Oryx Mall. But let's just leave those out for just a minute, because the duplex would have been hard for somebody to do much more with it for the zone. I don't know that the city ever rezoned the property. I'm fairly comfortable that the city,
When we put in mixed use, we rezoned properties. Mixed use was new, when, 2006? So when mixed use was put in, you rezoned something, because we didn't have mixed use before there was mixed use.
I know,
Right.
we set it as a zoning classification, and we would have passed it in the future land use map as well as the comprehensive plan. But as far as actually going in and changing your zoning classification, not sure about that. Which means that both of those people would be entitled to be able to continue
Well, I'll have
the
to
use
look at
that
it
they have.
first.
And we can defer that, I don't have a problem with that.
And because when they built the BP station, if you remember, we did have to rezone that back to general business from mixed use so that they could build that BP station without building 3 stories.
Yeah,
We
see,
came to that planning and zoning meeting, we were in the boardroom, but Shirley was still chair.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying, if
If it's gonna be handled one way or the other, just as long as it's inclusive. I think you've gotta have a stopping point and a starting point to be able to look at what you're doing.
So maybe what you're saying is if it is in fact inclusive, we'll just have the one mixed use moratorium. But if it's not, then we'll pick this back up and put it on the agenda for May 11th. Is that right?
I'm good with
That
that.
sound good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with that, because my
Okay.
segue to my second question was, have we seen, is there progress with our new understanding that zoning classifications do need to be reviewed? We kind of set the clock in my mind to start ticking because we're trying to put some ordinances to address this. So is there movement towards making updates with the zoning?
I got a feeling not much has been done.
Well, in the sense that we're identifying the places and those, but the actual writing of it out, no. But we are identifying
Okay.
the cities that we want to mimic, right?
Okay. Yeah, some progress, you know, being able to state some progress based on what the council is trying to do, you know, will align so that when the moratorium ends, we
have a
roll
problem.
out our changes.
I mean, I got a feeling it's gonna take a second, but it'll be well worth it. When, an example, even in some of the stuff that you're looking at here for Strata, that's a greater density than what you have, but it's not anywhere remotely close to what your code requires. And I know Mr. Qua's got a restaurant, you know, that he's got up off of Midtown, and above him is, you know, multi-story residential tower. They require concrete. So now if you went in there and you built like a concrete dome over the top of it and you said 3-story, today in Morrow, Georgia, that would never get built. It just, the cost is so prohibitive, you'd be paying, I don't know what you pay per square foot, but let's just say he's paying a remarkable number per square foot. That's so far above what, you know, any Mount Zion space is almost double. Right? So we'd have to have a lot more going on out there than, you know, than we have. But we can defer, and as long as it's inclusive, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Second reading, purchasing card policies, ordinance to amend the code of ordinances, general purpose procedures, authorization letter by any purchasing card policy, provide codification, provide severability, repeal conflicting ordinances. We've had that before, so Chris has also explained that as well. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So,
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Qua?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Okay. Executive session is optional. General comments. Did we miss anything? General comments. We'll start with the city manager.
I have no comments, sir. Thank you.
Our citizens, any general comments?
go ahead. No, you're good. You got it.
Mr. Chair, you're about to tell us you don't have any power.
I already told everybody that. I'd like to see you reverse 5 and 6, like if you're gonna go into executive session, everybody in here is gonna leave, and then we didn't get to have our comments, so I'd just like for you to reverse those two if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, we're not going into executive session.
I know,
Generally,
but
they leave it on.
in the future.
Absolutely. That's all. And we'll just remind us, this is an oversight, we want to hear what everyone's got to say.
I'm not finished.
She has more.
I have more.
I thought you
Okay.
said she was finished.
No.
See, I'm looking forward.
This deal with everybody has to be licensed in order to do something is wrong. You hire a contractor, he is licensed. He has people who work for him. They don't all have to have a license. They may be learning, they may be apprentices, but he is seeing what they are doing. And this has just gotten totally out of hand. Like I had just a handyman that was at my house and I said, this is leaking. He said, okay, I think it's this. I said, let's go to Home Depot. Came back and fixed it. It's not leaking. But he was not a licensed plumber. I mean, my brother knows how to do stuff. My son-in-law, I had my grandson down there yesterday. All this, we gotta have a licensed person is just totally out of hand. That's it.
All right. Question or comments from the city council? Ms. Knight.
No comments.
Ms. Dean.
Councilwoman Knight says she was gonna join the garden.
Oh, you-
we're gonna come check yours out.
Now you've been put on notice. Yeah, we're moving in the garden and everything is starting to, take root. So
No pun intended, I like
we're
that.
letting the dust settle and getting acclimated, so, and Miss Jean says she'll come back and sell you another nap and
That hunter's beginning to look good. All right, Mr. Quah.
No comments.
Ms. Tran.
No comment.
And
This one.
I just wanted to say thank you to Billy and his folks, the police department, fire department. We have great folks. And Saturday when the storm hit so furiously and so fast, they were out on it,
They were there.
patrolling, and we have great folks.
Thank you.
And I have no comments, and we'll go right into the work session and move from there. Yes, grab a cup of coffee, because you know how that goes.
It's ready for you.
And we'll be right back.
You haven't had any yet?
Oh, I've been drinking.